What's going on, everybody? Justin Thomas here. Make sure to subscribe. This is a Top Shelf Fandom news update. Of course, Top Shelf Fandom's recap and reviews serves up only the finest of fandom news at a discounted price. It's essentially free. It's on YouTube. So we are going to be talking about Game of Thrones, and we're going to be talking about the prequels. So I'm going to be up front here. I'm not going to hard wick it, but I'm also not going to shit all over it. I don't think this is necessarily the greatest news we could get for the prequels, but it makes sense. So let's first off discuss that this is a pilot that is greenlit, not the series. Now, there's a lot of press around this, and they did have 5 writing teams out, and we probably will at least get one, or possibly, I'm gonna guess, probably get 3 altogether Game of Thrones prequel series, or spin-offs, whatever you want to refer them as. But just because a pilot is greenlit does not necessarily mean the series will be picked up. But again, with this writing team, with this story, with the amount of press around it, I'm betting that this will get picked up. Now, this is Jane Goldman and George R.R. Martin. So first off, Jane Goldman, who seems to be pretty popular across the fandom, pretty familiar with her work. I like Kick-Ass. Kingsman was all right. She did an excellent job with X-Men, Days of Future Past, and she's pretty widely respected. She's a pretty good pick for this story. And this story is a smart pick as far as business goes for HBO.
Good at business.
And it's actually a smart pick in something I was looking to see. It seems like this will be a more character-centric, be a more character-driven story, and less of a CGI manifesto that I assume will be coming in the years after this, or even maybe during this. Depends how much Game of Thrones we get, if they Star Wars it up or not. But here's the thing. There's a lot of reasons why this is going to work, and there's a lot of reasons why this doesn't work. But there's really a lot more reasons why it does work, and we're all going to watch it. I've seen already some comments from people saying they don't know if they're going to watch it, and those people are liars. Even though I'm not so pumped about the tagline for this, because it implies what I've always kind of been worried about, that with the 6 episodes, D&D have deemed enough time to tell the rest of the story, which is quite a bit of story, and make the White Walkers and flesh them out a little bit, maybe give us a little bit of, sympathy, because they're not supposed to be the Tolkien-esque orcs and just the big bad. But they're going to have 6 episodes, and I don't see a lot of that happening. HBO's official log line, the series chronicles the world's descent from its golden age of heroes into its darkest hour, and only one thing is for sure: from the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history to the true origin of the White Walkers, the mysteries of the East to the Starks of legend, it's not the story we think we know. And so that's the concern, because the true origin of the White Walkers, didn't we see that in the episode The Door? I don't think we're going to get much more fleshed out than that. And I reached out to D&D, and they said this:
hey, fuck you. We wrote it.
Just stand up, guys. So essentially, this is what we have. Lore versus story. So the greatest thing about Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, in my opinion, is and always has been that the best events in this story take place off-page, off-screen. And they can actually maintain this by not trying to tackle too many major events. Lore makes your world feel real. It makes Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, the events seem more significant, more grounded even. Might sound crazy, but lore gives this world a history. It makes this world a world. So you want to maintain some of that mystery. Some events are better left off page, especially with the conflicting telling of these stories, which, since it is myth and it is the folklore of this culture, that does still work. It just doesn't work for me, and that's just my opinion. I don't want conflicting stories about the White Walkers. If D&D are going to take a stance and actually try to tell a story in these 6 episodes and flesh them out a little bit more, best of luck. But if they're going to just go and give us another story anyways, I'd rather they didn't try to stick the landing, because I don't think they can stick it. The Age of Heroes, which is the time period that it is supposed to be covering, which spans 10,000 some years, and if they focus on what I would consider to be the smart picks, all the great houses have these great stories for their starts, and of course they all want to trace themselves back to these legendary figures from the Age of Heroes. So I think to play around with that would be really smart. It'd be familiar even for the casual fan, and it's just good storytelling, and it wouldn't ruin the lore. Like Age of Heroes and going into, say, Aegon's conquest, which it could potentially lead right into. It's just such a vast span of time that I personally would just prefer, and again, it's just my opinion, that they focus less on ice spiders and heavy CGI, because I know we're going to get either Dance or Aegon's Conquest, which will be, really epic and full of beautiful visuals, and seeing more character driven. I think that because of the very nature of the Age of Heroes, they don't really have to stick to any of it, which again is a pro and a con for me. But I don't know, guys. Are you excited for this? Are you going to want to see more about the First Men and the Andals and the Children of the Forest and the creation of the White Walkers, which it definitely looks like we're going to get some of? Or do you want to see more of the mythical tales of these great heroes that started all these houses that we are familiar with? Lan the Clever is responsible for House Lannister. We have Bran the Builder. We have the Grey King, which is the original king for the Ironborn. You have Garth Greenhand, who from our current timeline with House Tyrell trace their origins back to. Or even during God's Grief, the first to hold the Baratheon's ancestral seat at Storm's End. There's a lot they could play with, even hinting at some Targaryen lore with the East. So I think that they can set some good pacing, put in the White Walkers with the Children of the Forest, but still include these great houses that are familiar to both diehards and casuals. I think they can really stick the landing, and it'll be a really good precursor for either Aegon's Conquest or A Dance with Dragons. Make sure to subscribe and look forward to more Game of Thrones content coming with live streams in the weeks to come.
Hey, fuck you. Writing the zombie polar bear into every season of the show.
We thought they'd be so excited to do a zombie bear.
Everyone's always like, oh, you get to shoot
Zombie bear.
Great. No. End of the season. It's going to be miserable.
Hey, fuck you. We wrote it.
Ha! Good at business.